Hi, we're going to take a quick look at a Maxwell camera rig. Use this as a quick reference in order to experiment and test by yourself depending on your needs. But in most of the cases, this rig used to work for me. We're going to create a camera in the 000 point in the plane, and the plane maybe 3 units and a couple of subdivisions, and we're going to set the plane in 00-12 with a rotation of 90 degrees. In this case, we're going to use one of these measure tools, one of these distance utilities, and we're going to click pretty close to the camera target and the focus. We're going to set the first locator to 000 and this second locator to 00-12. And basically right now our players are right in the scene, and what we're going to do is to parent the first locator to the camera and the second locator click with shift selected with shift pressed, and then click parent. Okay, so right now our players are in the scene. I rarely used to move my focus here in X and Y axis. Actually I just used to move it in Z axis. So you may notice that every time I move this plane, this distance between the camera and the plane is automatically updated. So in this case there are some different options. If you want, you can apply a constraint of aim for the camera to the plane, and with this value here, if for instance you move the camera, you will notice that the camera is oriented to the plane. But I rarely use that. As I told you before, every single case is different, and you may test by yourself and decide with which option is better for you and for your scene. So in this case, what I'm going to do is to parent the plane to the camera, and for the plane I'm going to disconnect these values here, these X and Y movements, so I will be only I will have only available the movement in Z axis. This is basically to prevent that if for some reason I accidentally try to move this focus plane, I will not be able to do that actually, because these coordinates are locked. So right now with these players in the scene, we have to connect this value here to the Maxwell focus camera. To do that is very easy. If we take a look at the Maxwell focus distance value, we just have to click on it and set it to 0. Automatically this value will pop up here, and I will be able to use the hypershade and the outliner here to connect these values. I'm going to use the middle mouse button to drag and drop the distance summation node here, and I'm going to show inputs and outputs in order to have a quick access to the distance dimension shape. And I'm going to browse to the camera, and this is my Maxwell camera that I can take advantage right now to rename it, for instance. And I'm going to use the middle mouse button to drag and drop here in the work area. So I'm going to again use the middle mouse button to click over it and drag over, click over the distance dimension shape and drag over the render cam shape. I'm going to select other, and I'm going to connect the value distance with Maxwell focus distance, and I'm going to close. So if we take a look, we just click and take a look at the Maxwell use focus distance. If I move my focus here in these values, automatically these values will be updated here. And if we take a look, for instance, let's place this plane again, this focus plane in 12. If we take a look at the through the Maxwell Cam, we just select Maxwell render and launch render here. Obviously the plane is there. We have some different options to hide the focus plane. If we select it and go to the attribute editor with this object selected, we can disconnect it from the camera, secondary rays and global illuminations, but also we can use a air material for this plane. I'm going to build an air material just in case I simply forgot to remove it from the render or to hide it. And we're going to, for this air material, we're going to use a completely transparent material with an index of refraction of 1. This is important. And the roughness is going to be set to 0. So again, if we hit render button, nothing is rendered actually, which is what I want to create. Let me hide this network job. Okay, we're going to close this guy here, and right now if I move my camera, my focus plane is going to be moved with it, and we're going to make a very quick test. I'm going to apply the resolution gate here, and we're going to create, for instance, a floor. I'm going to create this floor here. If I hit 6, you will notice that the plane disappears. This is because it's completely transparent. To keep the visibility of the plane, we can select the plane and transfer it to a new layer. I'm going to set this new layer to focus. I'm going to rename it to focus, and this layer is going to be unshaded. So it doesn't matter if I'm in 6, if all of my objects in the scene are shaded, this will be wireframe and easily visible for me. If we bring here a subject, for instance, this one here, I'm going to play this guy here, and let's create a Maxwell instance here, and let's create another Maxwell instance right over there. We can also increase the load here to have a better approximation, a better proxy for the DAC. Okay, right now we can take a look at where the focus plane is located. I'm going to look through my Maxwell camera here, and for instance, if we want to, in this case, if we want to keep focused the second DAC here, we can just simply decide what part or what area we want to get focused. And if I just hit render, here you have the second DAC is completely focused. If you want to emphasize this effect of the depth of field with the camera selected, we can use a lower value here in the f-stop. Let's try 2.8. This means that the aperture is going to be wider, it's going to be open wide, and consequently much more light is going to come into our Maxwell camera. So if we want to compensate this in order to avoid a washed machine, an overexposed machine, we need to run with a faster shutter speed. For instance, let's crank this value to something like 2500, something like that. So in this case, you will notice that the first and third ducks are much more blurred than the previous render, and you will see more easily how these plane affect. Exactly the same if I want to, for instance, if I want to keyframe this plane here. Okay, I'm going to select this plane. I'm going to keyframe this in 1. I want to do that the second duck is completely focused, and for the frame 24 I'm going to create a new keyframe with the focus pretty much like that, 36 approximately. So if we take a look at the in-between, I just forget the keyframe. Okay, if we take a look at the in-between, this value here of the measure tool utility will be automatically updated in the Maxwell camera. Okay, yes, 2133, 2133. Okay, so again, if we go to the last keyframe in this case, and hit the render. In this case, the third duck is going to be focused. As I told you before, this is just a suggestion, and you can use, experiment, and build your own derivatives of this camera rig. Every single situation is completely different, and I hope you enjoy, and this tutorial hopefully will be helpful for all of you. Thank you very much for watching.